Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Chase. So I just posted an ES chart to Twitter. It's got some depth to it, in my opinion, and I wanted to break it down for you guys. So basically, the backstory to it was I was coming into this week, and I'm trying to find, sort of where I'm leaning. I think the market is coming to sort of an inflection point, right? If you just took it very basic and you just said something like, okay, you sort of have we're consolidating into resistance here. Are we going to break up or are we going to break down? And that was the big question on my mind. And when I have a big question like that, I really like to go, a bit, deeper into the chart and talk it all through. So we're going to do that. We'll cover ES, we'll cover Bitcoin. Even if you're not a big fan of ES or, whatever you want to say, you don't trade it. I mean, that's fine. But the principles and the things I'm going to show you right now, you can apply to any chart. So I wouldn't skip it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the highest time frame, that I'm interested in, which is the yearly. Keep in mind when it comes to some crypto charts, like your old altcoins and stuff, like data from 2015, it's not really relevant, right? Like if the coin went 1,000x since 2015, like using a yearly level from 2015 is not really that relevant anymore. But if we're talking, Bitcoin or Ethereum or something, there's nothing wrong with using, recent monthly levels, recent weekly levels. You're going to find that those are often key levels in how price reacts. Now, sometimes you're going to get deviations above and below high time frame levels. That is very likely. Actually, it's common. But you're still going to find a lot of confluence around those levels, okay? So right here on ES, I pulled up the weekly. There would be more data, but we're using ES rather than SPX chart. No worries, it's fine. We're only concerned about this at the moment anyway, right? We're not looking at this. It's very unlikely that we get back down to here at all, anything like that. This is your COVID low. In an optimal scenario, if we really wanted a great buying opportunity, maybe somewhere in here, but that's not really the point of this video. Okay, but just so we're focused on this. That's my point right now. But on the yearly, I'm not seeing any level in here. So we're going to break down again, go down to the 6 month. There it is. We have a nice low right here. So before the major breakdown, impulse through, we have a low. Okay, this was our support. This is our breakdown. It served as resistance right here, and it's serving as resistance again. We see the confluence of the level. We're content with this level. Let's move down even more. Let's move down to, say, the 2 week now. So now we're on the 2 week chart, and look at this. We have support here before the move up. Consolidation, right? So consolidation, support, moves up. Support. This is your lowest support before breakdown, okay? I want to mark that out. And I don't want that to be, let's see, how do I make this less confusing? Like, how do you recognize this? Well, what I was thinking was that, this was your 6 month level, right? And I think it's pretty clear that you're seeing support here. But then what do you think about this right here? Like, what about this price action? You can't just say this is support, because what about this? Price supported and it pushed up. So when I see this low and I see this low get supported again here, but when it breaks down through, that begins a new area of price action, okay? So that's how I see it, was that this was basically the final support before the breakdown, okay? So that's how you could think of it. You have like a key level here, you have your final support before the breakdown, and we're gonna tag those all together. So we'll take our little box, just mark those all together, and we can send it both ways. We'll send it that way, and then, so this probably like negative something, we should get there. Okay, that's fine. Actually, no, I would prefer it not to be like that. 250? Ooh, perfect. Okay, so now we move down even further, move down to a weekly. 1 week, okay. And we can always clean this up if we want to. It's not necessary, but just something I like to do. I think it keeps, sort of just keeps you, whoops. What's this one? All right, well, you guys got to bear with me. We're going to get there. Just about 200. There it is. Okay, perfect. So now we just have a clean chart, right? In my opinion, I like to see a chart that's clean. I like to be able to zoom out too, right? This helps me a lot. Sometimes I like to just zoom out and say, because I think a lot of people get too enamored in the details sometimes, and you're really just zoned in right here. But what are the key levels that have been supporting and rejecting price? Consolidation before the move up, support, 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 support in here, breaks down, resistance, deviation. But note that when this goes up here, bit of a scam here, right? That we're taking liquidity. And obviously, taking liquidity is not necessarily a scam, but my point is that in my opinion, the reason it deviated the box was to take this liquidity, an intentional move to get these participants right here. Okay, so we mark that liquidity taken right there. Okay, and now, again, we see we were going along, breaks down, resistance, deviates out, comes down, takes liquidity again here. So, typical liquidity to liquidity, right? Sweeps it here and then sweeps the low. I'm just marking this out. And eventually we are going to get to this price action, of course, but we're going through the process here, and this is sort of going to get us in. When you really talk this stuff out with yourself, it's going to reveal things that you wouldn't otherwise see or feel if you just go straight to today's price action, right? Now, don't get me wrong, you can go straight into today's price action for local trading, but if we're looking for a couple 100-point move in one way or another, we're looking for a big swing trade, this is how I like to go about it. So next up, I'm really trying to decide here, what is the likelihood of us breaking back up above red, above this key level here. In my opinion, this is just key. We've talked about it. Look at the confluence here on all this stuff. Tries to hold inside, right? It tries to hold here. Once it fails, dumps. Holds here, pushes up, deviation to take liquidity, rejects, rejects, reject, reject, deviation above, okay? Again, deviation above, sort of like we saw here. And my question is, do we find resistance here? This is sort of the trade that I'm going to be looking at the start of the week. Just to reveal that, we'll get to that soon. But, to keep marking this up, right? Takes liquidity here, pushes up, takes liquidity on both of these, okay? So we have this high and this high. These are, in my opinion, these are relative equal highs, right? Basically equal highs. This is your liquidity sweep. It's nothing special, right? I would have liked, something more to push up into the key level, but nonetheless, it is what it is. That's your sweep for now. So why do I not think that we're going up above red box right now? Well, in my opinion, I will show you. So we have these liquidities taken. That's great. If we look at the breakdown leg, okay, so support here. This was your final support before the move up, breakdown. If we fib this leg right to the 618705, clean, right in there, okay? We see that 618705, and we reject cleanly off of it. So if we were to push back above this now, I would have to think, we were at least going for one of these liquidities here, but it seems unlikely to me considering, you had pretty much triple highs right here. You took all those out, you break down, that's your leg, you come back up into the 705618, and you reject cleanly. I think that, it's a downtrend, right? Even though we're getting a lot of consolidation in here, but overall, it had become a downtrend at that point. Sweep liquidity, reject off the 618, come down, sweep liquidity again here, come back up, sweep this liquidity here, and now we're looking for the next liquidity. Sorry, I'm having to put some cuts in this one. There's a good amount of background noise going on every now and then. Okay, so at this point, we're now into local price action, right? We have what we need. We know our key level. Our most recent sweep was a sweep into key level resistance, taking liquidity. This liquidity has already been taken. Where's the next obvious lows, in my opinion? I could see it two ways. I could see this low here, and that would be also, if you took it from here to here, right? If you ignored this level, and you would just say, okay, liquidity to liquidity. Okay, so even though I have it extended over to here because it just looks clean with the equal highs, but you could say liquidity to liquidity right here, and that would be your sweep level. Okay, so definitely have eyes there. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a sweep here first. Okay, looking at this, look at this low, this low, this low. Basically 3 lows here that are all relatively equal. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce off of that first. Okay, so we keep an eye out for a bounce, a bounce off of this, some type of consolidation, and then a further move to finally take out this liquidity, okay, and potentially even go lower. So now, local price action. We're here on the daily still, but we're working down lower and we're figuring out, how are we going to get to these lows? Well, I would have to say that this is your deviation here, okay, into the key level before the breakdown. Remember how we talked about it over here? Your support before the breakdown. Where is your support before the breakdown here? Eye it out real quick. You guys got it right there. Okay, support breaks down through on impulse. Do we want to short immediately? It's a good question. I think that you could short from here cleanly. It just depends what type of risk tolerance you're interested in nominally, because let's see how big of a move this is. Let's say you were to, stops here are pretty tight. That's fine, right? 45 points or 45 handles times 50. My math is so, my head math is bad. It's like $2,500 per ES contract. Okay, so it depends what your risk tolerance is, right? You could also trade MES, and that would be a $250 move on MES or a $2,500 move on an ES contract normal. Also, these videos are sponsored by Prime XBT. You can trade on there, and you can use under SP500 ticker, and you can set to whatever stop amount you want. So, it's just like trading Bitcoin, right? Like you can just say, okay, I want to put my stop above here and I want to risk $100. And you could do that, no problem. So what am I doing though? I'm thinking coming into this week, I would like to see some type of, not necessarily that I'm looking for confirmation, but what I am looking for is to tag the level at some point, maybe even deviate the level. Okay, and let's go through a few scenarios. If we deviate the level clean and we come back below, that's pretty easy. I think we just take our stop, put it above the deviation or wherever it be, maybe it's up here, and then we target our lows. Okay, I think it's as simple as that. If we don't deviate the level, I'll be looking for local price action to have some type of a market structure break. I've drawn that out for you guys many times, making highs, lows, higher highs and higher lows, eventually breaking down through on impulse, any type of retest into here. Most of those are good with stop above here, down to your liquidity, okay? All right, and what are some other plays? Well, if you're on an options platform, market opens Monday. We have CPI coming on the 14th, I believe. Is it? It's a Tuesday, I think. Yeah, Tuesday the 14th. Okay, and remember these are never drawn to time scale, right? I sort of just have to draw them so you can understand it. But let's say Tuesday the 14th. So we want an extra week behind our option. We go for somewhere in late March. We take a late March option on SPY, and we play it towards 388. Okay, right around there. So there's multiple ways to go about this. You can look for the deviation. You can look for the market structure break. You could just jump in blind. You could do an option trade, and if it happens to start blowing through and closing through with strength, at least the option won't take a huge hit. It obviously you're going to lose money, of course, but depending on what your risk tolerance is like, you may be able to get an option for cheaper, short dated, than going into a full ES contract and taking less loss that way. But of course, go and watch my options video if you're interested in that stuff. You shouldn't go into those blindly. Okay, so I think that about covers it on ES. There's the chart that you saw on Twitter, completely broken down, looks exactly the same. Only this edition of liquidity right here for those who are looking to take profit a little earlier. As always, you know me, I like to take my profits. So I would take here, I'd leave 40% or 30% for the full push. Okay, but at the same, and especially if you're playing options, again, go watch the options video. But if you're playing option, you always want to close on volatility, right? So if it makes a move down, and you have a choice to close your option here, or a couple of days of consolidation, and then a choice to close your option here, it's going to be worth more here if it's a short dated contract almost every time. You want to close during the volatility, okay? It's not about getting the right price. It's about closing during the volatility on the big move. That's where you're going to capture the most profit on an option trade, especially when it's short dated, okay? Moving on to Bitcoin. All right, and we're here with Bitcoin. Let's use the same principles, okay? We are on a monthly chart here. Monthly liquidity, very minor sweep here. You know, it is what it is. It's tough to say if this is what we're supposed to reject off of. I would have liked to see a deviation above to a stronger degree, right? Something of that nature. That's when I really would have been interested in looking for shorts back down. But hey, you know, market trades as it's going to trade, right? And let's break down to the weekly. You can see our support here, resistance, big move down, comes up, resistance here, support moves us up, and we can see, you know, if we even want to refine this a bit more, this resistance right here is really where we simply flip to support, okay? So resistance, breaks through, flips to support, comes up, takes liquidity, moving back down. Now we have liquidity below here. We also have liquidity below here, potentially. This was a scenario I talked about last week that I thought would be pretty scammy in my opinion, right? To only take this and to not take this. That would be pretty dirty in my opinion, so I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin does pull something like that. Keep an eye on that, okay? Let's stay on the weekly for a second, and let's mark out another level. Let's say moves up, rejection, rejection. Let's mark out a weekly resistance here, closes through, breaks down, closes through here, rejects off. Move down to daily. Look at the clean respect on these closes. Resistance, perfect on the closes. Little bit off here, but nonetheless provides a support, support, breaks down here, okay? Now, we're a bit stuck in this current consolidation, but it's the weekend. It's to be expected, right? I could see us from here. Let's see, what could I see us doing? Well, let's first mark out our areas of liquidity. I mean, you know, this is mostly taken. It's taken, but it's not taken as we'd want to see it. You know, we'll put a little question up here as well. And then we have liquidity down here. We have some liquidity below here on this low right here. We have a support level that's pretty untested right here, right? Support, flip into resistance. I could see something of this nature. Could see a push into here, rejection, come down, take the liquidity here, potentially even take the liquidity there. That is a possibility. Short on a retest. You do have to be careful with shorting the retest on Bitcoin. Sometimes it likes to overshoot. In my opinion, it really does not trade as cleanly as ES nowadays. Nonetheless, I do see that as a possibility. A different possibility, and another possibility, would be to, if we came into here, flip this back into support, watch for this level to flip back into support, because this was our breakdown level right here, right? Clean, weekly level, resistance is here, support here, resistance is here. You know, if we were to flip this area right here back into support, like this, so you get it back into here, flip this into support, in my opinion, that means we may be going now for that. That's maybe when we make our deviation up here, okay? On the flip side, we can look for moves into here first, or we can look for moves into here first. And both ultimately would lead me back to, first it leads me back to here, target 1. Second, it would lead me back to here, target 2. And then you leave 20% in case it runs all the way to go for more liquidity up into here. Okay? So basically with Bitcoin here, we're looking at possible trigger scenarios. We're not gambling up or down based on what it could do in here. It could chop you up, it could stop you out again, and then go some way. But what we're doing is we're simply waiting for triggers. So we have support potentially flipped into resistance here. That's a potential trigger. Looking for the deviation, looking for the market structure break, okay? So the deviation, looking for the market structure break, okay? All these things that I've drawn and talked about many, many times. Or we can have it coming down, sweeping liquidity, reclaiming, finding your reclaim entry, going, simply bidding the low. And it's a little bit more risky, but you're going to get the best risk reward. Go to my link tree and look at the video called How to Enter a Trade 101. That's going to run through that with you. Okay? So lots of scenarios to keep an eye on. It's all about the trigger. Don't gamble. Don't guess. Wait for an opportunity that makes sense to you, and then look to execute it. And don't overthink it. You know, keep your risk managed or small. If you're new, keep your risk small. Trade more. Keep the risk small, and you're going to start to get the hang of this stuff. All right, so hopefully this video has been helpful. As always, you know, Prime XBT, supporter of these videos, right at the bottom there. Sign up, deposit, very helpful to the videos. Please like and retweet as well, very helpful. Leave comments, YouTube, everything is appreciated, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, thanks. Have a great week.